I mean, I suppose I could at least talk to you while I'm setting things up. So I started the stream, but like a fool forgot to pull up chat on my other screen. Plus, I may be talking in the Discord a little bit, which is not a smart thing to do when you're about to stream. So, hello everyone. Thanks for coming out. Didn't really expect people to show up, to be honest. Today we're going to be checking out a little bit of some just old retro type games. You know, I mentioned, I think the first stream I did, I said I wanted to play Streets of Rage 2, which of course is a very old game. I think it came out in like 93. And today I went to Steam because that's where I have my Sega Megadrive collection. And I was going to buy Alex Kidd because that's another one from my childhood that I really enjoy. And turns out the whole thing was on sale, so for like 12-ish dollars, I got the whole collection, which is like 40 games or something like that. So, hey, if you're, still have the air conditioner on, that's not great. So if you're, a fan of retro games and you want to do it legally, it's a great time to buy the Sega collection. I don't know that it's definitely worth $12, but at the same time, there's only like 7 of those games that I actually really enjoy, and since you can get them at regular price for like $1 each, I probably should have just bought them individually. But I like to collect things and have things at my disposal. Anyway, let's drop the overlay here. Hopefully is capturing the right window, and yeah, definitely should back out of here and reset this. So we're going to play a little bit of Streets of Rage to start with. Again, mostly I just have a little bit of time and I, wanted to do something. Oh, there was a reset button, my mistake. Let's play a little Streets of Rage. And again, I don't exactly, expect this to bring in the numbers or anything. And it's later in the evening. I'm just trying to stream more on a regular basis, even if it's not something, it's tricky. So like, if I put this on YouTube, I'm going to get, 3 to 6 views of a series like this. If I do Cataclysm stuff, it averages like 100-ish views at the moment, which is like pretty good for me. So this is one of those things that, it's not going to draw a lot of attention, but it's also like, it's what I enjoy doing, I don't know. I really enjoy retro gaming because I grew up with a lot of this stuff. In fact, we're not in full screen. We should probably... to keep the aspect ratio, it puts borders on. I normally would play stretched, but I know every time someone plays stretched 4:3 aspect ratio, it gets a lot of complaints from what I have seen. This says 1992. Did this come out in 92? I thought it was a little bit later than that. Played this game a lot when I was a kid. Yeah, so not really sure what to be streaming, to be honest. I don't want to stream Cataclysm at all times. It gets a little bit repetitive and you do the same things over and over, especially like in our apartment series. I don't really know what to do with my character. It's the early game, but it's also like we're already established, so I don't know. Just not sure what to do with myself, but basically it's one of those situations where you should make sun while the hay is shining or whatever. You have time, you might as well make use of that time. So like Mondays are probably the worst day of the week for me. Time wise, I usually don't get to bed till like 11 a.m. sometimes. So by the time I wake up in the evenings, it's a little bit late for my audience. YouTube analytics says everybody watches from like noon to 6 p.m. So I never know. But I'm trying to force myself to stream, why not? And my recording limitations mean I can't, stream a ton of high-end stuff. I'm doing tests off-screen to see what is something that is like a viable streaming option. Last night I streamed on my test account to try and get Dead Island dialed in, which is like not exactly what I would call a popular game, especially at this stage when it's been out for so long, but I like zombie games and I had a hankering to play it, and it was on sale on Steam for like $4 or something here recently, or maybe I got it through Fanatical. I don't even remember where I picked it up. But it was cheap, and I thought maybe I could stream that, but current settings and stuff, you know, it just doesn't look right, and it's causing some issues. So probably not going to be able to stream that. And then last night I went down the rabbit hole a little bit watching people play MMOs, specifically EverQuest. So you know, it's always a balance. Okay, well, the boss is coming, so we'll fight the boss, I guess. You know, it's always a balance of like, it's one of those things where it's like, if I want the best, so in order to monetize on Twitch, there are certain requirements that you have to meet, and part of that requirement is a concurrent or average viewer count. So like average viewers over all of your streams over the last month have to come out to be 3 people or something like that, or 7, I don't remember. And if I want to reach that goal, I should really just stream Cataclysm, because that's where the majority of people show up for the stream. Problem is, I don't want to stream Cataclysm every single day of the week, you know. So it's like, you know, is it what's best for my mental state, you know, with replaying the same stuff over and over, or is it what's best for, you know, the channel, which would be, you know, all Cataclysm basically. But anyway, that's enough about that. Let's talk about Streets of Rage 2. So again, retro gaming is some fan of mine, you know. Obviously nostalgia plays a big part of it. I think a lot of people, especially my age, hold a lot of love for the Sega and Nintendo consoles, just because they were some of our first exposures to video games. So like when I was a kid, we went to, you know, the arcade and stuff, but for the most part, it's Sega for me, you know. I think nostalgia is one of those things where I think they say between like the ages of 6 and 14 is where you become really nostalgic for things. Just stream what you want. Yeah, that's more or less where I'm at with it. It's just certain people in the community, not gonna name names, have really been pushing me towards trying to monetize, and it's obviously something I want. So it's one of those executive decisions where you have to kind of choose, you know, and I don't love that. But yeah, I think they say 6 and 14 is like where you form most of your really nostalgic connections. So a lot of people who like look back at their life, those are the moments when they really crave, oh, we messed it up. Trying to stun lock her the whole time. She can be a little tricky because she's so fast, but we dealt with her. And so for me, that particular age range is, of course, the Sega Genesis. I love this music. This game has the best music of any. It's probably my favorite soundtrack in all of gaming. Highly recommend you check it out. I don't know if the like the sound here is super good. I tried to balance it out, but it's really hard to tell, especially when I have the fan running and stuff, kind of the volume and whatnot. But yeah, this game has the best soundtrack of like literally any game. Definitely a big fan. And yeah, the Sega is like was my thing. I wasn't a Nintendo kid. You know, we had a downstairs neighbor when I was in like 2nd grade. We had a downstairs neighbor who had the Nintendo, and they were Nintendo kids. But me, it was Sega. You know, we had the classics, Sonic. You know, it's funny. Sonic has become like the iconic image for the Sega. You got me, bud. But if I look back at my childhood, we had a bunch of like Sega promotional stuff, and it was it's like it was all Alex Kidd. All of the you got me. All the promotional stuff we had for the Sega wasn't Sonic at all. It was Alex Kidd, which is like like a game that nobody even knows. You know, when I talked to kids in school and was like, "Oh, Alex Kidd," kids were like, "What are you talking about? All we have is Sonic, whatever." Haven't heard it much, but what I've heard so far has been good. Yeah, it gets better as you go on. It's just one of those iconic soundtracks from, you know, I mean, really from the Sega, it's my favorite. And like I said, probably one of my favorite of all time. I do really like the Deus Ex music as well. But but this is a good one. For whatever reason, I remember Kid Chameleon as much as anything else. Yeah, you know, I don't think I played that game until I was like 25, probably. And it's funny too, because like you can talk to someone who grew up with the exact same system as you, a lot of the same access to games as you, and what they remember, what stands out to them as being the best is like not what you remember at all. So yeah, we had Sega promotional stuff. It had Alex Kidd on it, and Alex Kidd is literally just like a little boy. There's nothing special about him. There's nothing iconic about him. He's just a kid. I think he has like boxing gloves on maybe, but that's about the extent of his influence. And then of course Sonic became the iconic, I mean, the little furry avatar for the Sega, you know, platformers. I mean, people respond to platformers. Obviously Mario did the same thing on the Nintendo, so oh, you hit me with your bike. Interestingly, in this game, only certain enemies are coded to pick up weapons. So like these motorcycle guys, they can pick up the pipes, and so can this bald guy here. But they're the only two enemies in the whole game, I think, that can do that. So every other enemy is not coded to pick up, to pick anything up. And then the red-haired, yes, that guy over there. Oh, we're gonna get hit. The red-headed guy over here, they can pick up knives, which I think they're the only ones in the whole game that pick up knives. Don't want to get stun-locked by the motorcycle. Yeah, it's Streets of Rage 2. It's side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's a sequel to Streets of Rage 1, but I don't actually think of Streets of Rage 1 as a, please stop grappling with me. I don't really think of that game as very good. I know it spawned, you know, the two sequels and whatnot, but this is the one that really stands out to me. I've played the first one here and there, you know, as a kid. I think we played it, and I've played it subsequently, but it's just not very good. It doesn't feel right. Streets of Rage 2, just something about the please stop grappling with me. It just feels different. It feels so much more satisfying to play this game. And as we saw there, these guys can grapple with us. Certain enemies can, certain enemies can't. Again, I'm not really sure how they determine who gets to do what. Like these white-haired mohawk gentlemen in the colored coats, they can do that and grapple and throw you, but they're one of the only ones. The other, I mean, I guess they can grapple you. It doesn't happen very often. I like how the enemies are all in groups. Gale, Tempest, Storm, etc. Yeah, everybody's got a cool little name. This game too, when I was a kid, there's something about dudes with mohawks that stands out to me. So we want to save that to heal after we get into the fight. We're going to fight two of these karate guys. And they have a little like Hadoken type thing. Don't really want to... Okay. We'll fight two of them, and then all the guys in the background will come fight us. Oh, or they'll do it all at once. That's fine too. I don't think I've ever beaten this game legitimately. I think I've always cheated to win. You know, with like infinite lives and stuff. When I was a kid, we had a game genie that let us do that. Okay, fellas. Extremely rude. We had a game genie, which was like my access to endgame. Like I never beat Sonic when I was a kid. I had to cheat to beat Sonic when I was a kid. And I remember getting to the end, and like the weird end game boss fights were like so perplexing to me because I had never really gotten very far in Sonic. But again, you gotta figure I was like 7, so it's a little easy to understand, I think. And then it's funny too, like probably a couple years ago at this point, but I sat down and was like, you know what, I want to beat Sonic because I've never beaten Sonic, and I sat down and really it was like one playthrough where I just demolished it. It was so easy. And to look back and think about how hard that was when I was a kid to actually succeed and try to progress in the game. Same with Streets of Rage 2. There's a wall partway through. You hit like a swamp area, and there's this boss that can kind of do a lot of flips and stuff, and that's where I would always die when I was a kid. I have a lot of good memories of this playing with my uncle and brother. So there's 4 characters in this game. We're playing as Axel, who is like the... I guess he's intended to be like the main protagonist. Oh, did not mean to eat that. So there goes our health regen, unfortunately. The punch button is the same button as the pick things up button. So, you know, the Sega Genesis had 3 controllers. So this guy, we just want to bait him over and over into doing this. If I were good at the game, I would be able to grapple with him. I've seen speedrunners do that really reliably, but I remember all the games I played as a kid being hard, and they really weren't. Yeah, I mean, the kids are dumb. What are you gonna do? I guess. You know, and I played this with my uncle. My uncle's like, I think he's 13 years older than me, so I would have been like 6, and he'd have been around 19 or 20. And he loved this stuff, you know. I remember him, because he didn't really know how to use computers, and I learned very early how to use computers. He would ask me to get him cheat codes and things for games, so we played a lot. My brother, so, you know, I've talked about my brother at length, has some mental and physical limitations, so for him, he basically has to play games with one hand, which has always been difficult for him. And modern controllers, it's a little easier because he can use one hand to manipulate both analog sticks at the same time. But he struggles to do a lot of gaming. And the Sega, of course, is just a D-pad and you know, 3 face buttons initially. I do think eventually they got 6 buttons. I don't really remember. But he struggled a lot, so he would just do, there's a special attack in the game. For us, it's this like fireball, circular uppercut type thing. I'll show here in a minute. This thing, and then we have one that lets us punch a bunch. But when you do that, it actually drains your health. So he would just do those things over and over and over, and then die. So playing with him was like impossible, because he was basically burning himself out, and then the enemies would kill him, and, you know, we'd run out of lives, and that's, you know, frustrating as a kid. And then my uncle was the opposite. My uncle was like, because he was an adult, he was way better at it than I was, and he would get irritated at our simple deaths. You know, if we played with him and we got killed, he would get upset because we were bad, and he wanted to beat the game. And I remember being like, you know, a kid, and he would play this, and I saw him get to the final level, which is like super hard. The final boss is like just cheats so hard. They're so difficult because they grapple with you quickly. One of them has a gun, and it's just like, I'm trying to punch you in the face and you're shooting me. And I was just super impressed with my uncle and how good he was when I was a kid. And of course now it's like, you know, he was probably just okay. I do really love these games. We're doing fairly well, but I don't expect that to continue. I certainly don't expect to beat it. But again, I saw the Sega games were on sale. Basically, like a week ago, I bought Streets of Rage for like 99 cents. I was like, oh, I'll play that sometime. And then today, I went to buy some more, and they were on sale. So I thought, why not, you know, do a little stream here. It is later in the evening. You know, my sleep schedule screws up on Mondays. So basically, it's like, I don't have a lot of time. Usually my house gets really loud around 8:30 p.m. EST, so like in an hour, you know, people are going to get home from work and become more problematic. There's that guy's like mild Hadoken, and yes, he screams when he jumps. Well, you got me. These guys, we don't really want to grapple with them, because I think he has a pretty strong throw as well. They do become a more common enemy as we progress. That's the other thing I like about this game, is like, it reuses bosses, which is normally something I dislike, but it just slips them in there as regular enemies, and I kind of like it in this game. I don't know why. Probably just nostalgia. Here we're gonna fight some ninjas in a moment. Very exciting. I think we're actually coming up on the swamp area now that I'm thinking about it, so we'll get to see where I got stuck a lot as a kid. Blue ninja, green ninja. If we could pull them separately, that would be great. There we go. See, he has a sword. Not exactly fair in a fist fight, but what are you going to do? You'll see I do the uppercut a lot as well. It's just one of the more optimal. You kind of hit him a few times and then uppercut to get in some free extra hits. We'll take a sword, although I doubt I can use it efficiently here. And then this guy has like a crystal triangle dagger thing. I don't really know what it's supposed to be. A spade knife, I guess. You got me. Okay, can't see you. You got me. It's not really fair when you do it from off screen. We can kind of stagger enemies if we just, you know, want to stun lock them or whatever. We'll take the sword with us, I guess. Yeah, fond memories of playing this with my uncle. Oh, it didn't let me keep the sword. That's not nice. And this was like our game as a kid. Like we had a Sega, and my grandparents got us Sonic, like all the different, many of the Sonic games over the years. And our favorite games were multiplayer games. So anything we could play together. I really need that health. Please don't. Please don't. You got me. So we would play a lot of like Streets of Rage 2 at the time was really popular. We died. And that was like one of our first fighting game experiences. I mean, I played, what was that game called? Man, we're getting tore up here. So here you'll see they, like I said, they combined two bosses and made them kind of regular enemies. This guy's not so bad if we can stay on a different, like, vertical plane from him. But if we're horizontal, he has a stab and a throw, which is a little bit... We'll just... I was going to try to stun lock him, but it screwed that up. We liked fighting games. We played a lot of sports games back then. I remember on the Sega, I think it was, here's the swamp. I think it was Mutant League, football and hockey were two like arcadey sports games. So really enjoyed those. I don't know why these eggs explode, but obviously a very Aliens vibe here. Give me that sword back, please. Okay, or don't. And we'll see a little alien head later as well, which is interesting. Well, there goes the sword, I guess. You'll see the enemies are lying down at the bottom. They actually are all, mostly enemies are static in this game. They are where they are. It's rare that they will, occasionally they'll drop from the ceiling. Sometimes they come in from the borders, but a lot of times they try to like pre-spawn them in areas like that. So I'm not sure why they're taking a nap in a swamp, but it is what it is, I guess. Taking a lot of hits, not doing super well. Lost our first life, which is disappointing. I think we're coming up on the alien head. And yeah, staying on the horizontal plane with these enemies is really bad. Those Mohawk guys really like to slide at you, which makes closing the gap a little bit difficult. You'll also see, as we progress, their hit points expand over time. Short explosion on that one. So these redhead guys tend to be the lowest health enemies, but as we progress, they'll get more and more health as we go along. So there's the alien goat head thing. Not great. I never did learn how to fight this thing. It's a real crapshoot, because you have to hit the head, but it drifts between like upwards, which makes it really difficult to put consistent damage on. And of course, if it touches you at all, you take damage, so just keep kicking it, I guess. Yeah, we played Streets of Rage for sure. Was one of our favorites. My brother really liked playing as the wrestler character. He grapples a lot. He's big and strong. You know, he really liked wrestling when we were kids, so for him it was a no-brainer. Plus there was a kid on rollerblades in this game, which we also played a lot because we all rollerbladed when we were kids. Okay. Really don't want to die here. And this isn't even like the hard boss. There's actually a much harder boss after this. We're gonna kick the head off. This has a very Contra 3 Alien Wars kind of feel to it, this area. Oh good, another ninja. Yeah. So we'll proceed. We are eventually going to lose the game. I have absolutely no illusions about beating this game. So we'll just see where we end up. And here's the proper boss fight, which will give us a turkey to full heal, which is nice. I think this guy's name is Zamza, okay? He has a slide, he also flips a lot, and if you grapple with him, he will very quickly slam you to the ground. So I always had trouble with him as a kid. And this is where we would hit like a hard wall and lose the game. He also seems to drift when you hit him, which is not great. Because you can't stack up lots of damage and you can't stun lock him. Love this song though. You got me. I don't know. Streets of Rage, Street Fighter, anything multiplayer. We played a lot. Zombies Ate Your Neighbors. That's like Zombies Ate My Neighbors. One of my favorites when we were kids. I've always been a zombie kid from like probably the time I was born. I remember being in grade school and they asked us to write a story and I just wrote about zombies. I don't know where I saw zombies for the first time, but oh good, we got him without losing a life. So we'll full heal in between levels, so. Always loved zombies, and zombie games back then were few and far between. They were always just random garbage, but was Zombies Ate My Neighbor, was that I think that was LucasArts before it was like really popular. I think LucasArts made that game. Solid game. Maybe we should play that sometime. I wonder if that's on the emulator. Probably not, because it's LucasArts.